Friends, Namaste. Welcome to this sixth session of our design thinking course with emphasis on COVID 19. This sixth session is the continuation to the phase solve. In this session, we will look at the solution possibilities for the persons who are in contact with COVID 19 patients and then healthcare staff and the persons like supporting force like police force, sanitation force, like we will see. Let's go in. Okay, now let us look at what are the key steps for category B, that is the persons in contact with the COVID-19 impacted persons. They may be the family members, they may be their colleagues, they may be their classmates, or their co-travelers, like anything. Once we know that someone among us or among our family members, the roommates, colleagues, found with this corona positive, we should not get derailed. That is the very, very important step. That means we should be strong and we should be courageous for proper action. Then, what we need to do for these particular impacted persons, we already had in the previous session, and that is the reason, and I'm not going to discuss anything on this particular aspect. But now, when the persons in contact should feel it as their responsibility for not become themselves as the carriers. And that is the reason they need to adapt self-quarantine. Hence, they can do their own works without getting any exposure to the others or to outside. And of course, without having any precautions and steps. Okay, what they are supposed to do? They, after having their own self quarantine, they need to have special wearing like the hand gloves, goggles, mask, if possible, a kind of bodysuit also. This is not only for our own protection, but also it gives protection to others. That's what, in fact, everyone should remember. Next, they need to avoid to go outside for any kind of their needs or wants. For this purpose, they can use any mobile apps and they can order by phone for all their necessary goods, foods, groceries, or medicines, or any kind of items they do require. Next, very important thing is they should not share any items like their utensils, food items, towels, bedding, or any items with anyone, whether they are inside the house or outside the house. This is another important aspect. Yes, very important thing here, what we need to do is the sanitization. And we need to sanitize the entire home as many times as possible with the best disinfecting agents. I'm going to tell you what the actual meaning of disinfection and sanitization. Here, thing is we need to take care not only the floor and whatever we have like doors and door handles, our mobile phones, laptops, kitchenware, whatever we use, everything we need to go for sanitization. So here many products are available and we can choose whatever the best for our own purposes. And of course, we should also consider our affordability without neglecting the safe conditions. Next, personal sanitization. This is another important thing. I mean, as and when we touch someone or something, we need to thoroughly sanitize our hands. Why I am telling these are the solutions for our target persons to be on safe. Yes, here let me just clarify one important thing. What is the actual disinfection and what is the sanitization? Disinfection means here you should see that it is the complete destruction of infecting fungi or bacteria or something else. But sanitization means it is the reduction of microorganisms up to considerable level of safe. That means we are not going to have 100% pacification. Here, if you look at the sanitization, it takes for about 20 to 30 seconds because I was already told you that it is up to certain level. Whereas disinfection, it takes a certain time, it may be even up to 10 minutes. So it's all depend on the actual ingredients present in the actual disinfecting or sanitation chemicals we are using. I mean, the chemicals used in this preparation of these sanitizers will have its own significant role, whether it is sanitization or disinfection. Thing is, here we need to consider how we go for sanitization and also look at the pros and cons in this particular sanitization. This is also very, very important. Some of these sanitizers are, as you are looking at here, alcoholic based sanitizers, and some of the sanitizers are non-alcoholic based sanitizers. That means the medium we use in the preparation of sanitizers. And if you look at this in alcoholic based, generally the medium is isopropyl alcohol or ethanol or N-propanol and having the composition from 60 to 95%. But it is advisable that the sanitizers will have better impact only when it is having more than 65% of alcoholic presence. But thing is here you should also consider on the preparation of these kind of alcoholic sanitizers and all, and only the licensed bodies will be given permission to use this ethanol and all. Yes, in non-alcoholic based, the medium is quaternary ammonium compounds like benzalkonium chloride instead of using alcohol. This is making the difference between alcoholic based and non-alcoholic based. And of course, there are so many other chemicals used in the preparation of sanitizers. They may be of like hypochlorites, as it's mentioned, and chlorine dioxide. Basically, this chlorine dioxide is used in the form of a solution. And next, iodophos, and next, peroxyestic acids. So these are all the different kind of chemicals generally we use in the preparation of the sanitizers. Apart from this, the very best sanitization can happen with warm water and soap. So why it is so? Uh, Let us see in detail. Yes, though sanitization is a way to find ourselves, avoid getting virus entry, it has some cons. That is why we need to consider and discuss here for any kind of things to look over. So what those cons? Let us see. Excessive and repeated use of sanitizers may cause itching or burning or even dry skin. That is, and someone is possible to get a kind of skin irritations, and it may enhances our skin sensitivity towards UV rays. I mean, one may get sunburn when they are exposed to sunlight or solar lamps also. And it may also reduce the effectiveness. That means if you keep on use this sanitizers, there is a possibility in getting decrease of viral resistance. There is also that. And it may also have some sort of negative effect on our hormones like thyroid hormones. Over to all, due to this present situation of lockdown and other impacts, there may be a scarcity in getting these sanitizers in required quantity for our fulfillment. Hence, these are all the forced us to look for alternatives which are supposed to be best and safe. First one is sanitize with soap and warm water, which has the similar impact and of course easy to maintain. Or still, and for even solution is preparing home sensitization by using natural materials, and this is a very highly advisable for a kind of alternation. So now let us look at this kind of alternative solution. That means how we can have or how we can mitigate this kind of sanitizers or sanitizers problem. So we need to go for the natural sanitizers. Here, if you look at this, the first one is vinegar based natural sanitizers. This is very effective. Here, we'll just have about 1 liter of hot water and then a quarter cup of white vinegar you can add to this hot water, and then just take 2 tablespoons of baking soda, then shake it properly, and then slowly try to cool the solution and add a lemon. Then this resultant solution can be one of the best and safe sanitizers which are all made up of natural things. The second one, very important, highly traditional one is the turmeric based sanitizers. Here, if you can use either spinac, you can use the turmeric and the garlic combination, or turmeric, neem, camphor, aloe vera like. So with any of these three combinations, we can get a beautiful what you call homemade sanitizers. Further, one thing you should remember here is these are all even locally grown medicinal plants and proven with excellent medicinal characteristics. And if you look at these combinations as it was mentioned among all these three, and of course you can also try with other important medicinal plants. If you can properly grind them and if you can get the extraction, and we can safely use it as a sanitizer. These are the best solutions forever. Not only for this COVID-19, always it is advisable to have the homemade sanitizer solutions with us, and because it is inevitable for us to go and to attend for so many works at outside. Okay, what is the next to do? The very important step and best solution for everyone, whether the persons who are in with contact with these COVID-19 patients or the COVID-19 patients or any other persons who are keenly observing these situations. This is, we need to boost up our immunity. This is a very important step. First thing here is the physical exercise, and it is highly advisable to adapt meditation, yoga, jogging, or any kind of physical exercise at our convenience to give us the best fitness. Then personal hygiene. I mean, always try to fresh, like having a regular bath and having wash and dry clothes when, and continual wash our hands as and when we touch something or gone outside and again came back to our house. So all these things we should absolutely maintain to have our personal hygiene. And then try to have or maintain the best diet like fresh vegetables, millets, fruit, and of course whatever we are using they should be rich at vitamins like A, B, C, D, and also the minerals. And another important thing apart from these three is gargling with hot water with a pinches of turmeric. This is very important thing. Further, it is always advisable to drink warm water and as and when we need to drink some water or we feel to drink some water, and better to avoid aerated cool drinks. Yes, very important thing what in fact I want to mention here is that's what we need to do or must have to do, or as long as possible, not only this particular present pandemic situation, it is highly advisable to drink hot water. At least, though we are taking water as a regular process, and it is advisable to have at least 4 times a day to drink hot water, because because of these climatic conditions there are a lot of chances that any kind of virus may accumulate. And of course many of us are having a habit to drink or to take hot beverages, so advisable to take the hot coffee, tea, milk, or nutritious drinks. And apart from that, as and when we feel cold, it is highly advisable to have steam inhalation. We can also call it as the steam therapy. And because if you do this, whether you take medicines or not, that is different. But once you adopt the steam inhalation, it has a lot of impact. Even doctors advise us as and when we have any kind of flu kind of things, and they prefer us to go for this steam inhalation. Because the inherent temperature is more important for the pacification of virus. You at least suppose if anybody is having a doubt that they are having some sort of symptoms, if they adapt this steam inhalation, it works so well. So these three, like drinking hot water, drinking hot beverages, and the steam inhalation, and it reduces the stress even on doctors to give further prescriptions. And apart from this, in case whatever the three important steps we mentioned in the previous slide, and no way I think we can get the symptoms of COVID-19. Yes. Now let us look at the very important case, category C, that is the healthcare staff like doctors, nurses, and paramedical staff. First of all, we need to take care in providing all necessary things, or else there will be no cure for COVID-19. First one, providing the best personal protection wear to give them high level security and moral support. These are very essential. Here, let us look at the bodysuits. Of course, these bodysuits must be impervious. But now, this is the concept for textile industries or related ones to provide these bodysuits made up with or coated with bioligantic chemicals which can form an unstable complexes with the viral molecules in case they spill over on these bodysuits. Because if these particular coating materials can create a kind of unstable complexes, there will be no life for these virus materials on these source. Further, it is also advisable to have UV sensitive fabrics for quick surface cleaning when they are placed in UV chambers soon after rains. That means the quick cleaning and drying of these bodysuits is very important. For this, we can go for UV sensitive fabrics. Next, respiratory masks. These are very important need to have minimum at N95 standards. But of course now even we are going for N99 standards. They should perfectly fix to face without any gaps or irritation in any sensible parts of this face. These marks should obstruct the percolation of very fine and minute particulates and should be forever used in passing out CO2 released due to respiratory actions of this viper. Because the continual passage of CO2 during this respiration is very much required, or else and it may create some sort of other complications like headache and all. It is always advisable to use one-time used and nanomaterial based masks which are need to be used to ensure safety, because one-time use masks and one mask for one particular patient are highly advisable. Next one is respiratory hoods, which must be powdered air purified, and they can act as pest protection for not to attack on forehead and also to avoid contaminants to provide fresh breath. Next one is synthetic gloves. Preferably these are all made up of nitrile or its compounding rubber, because nitrile is the best at avoiding skin allergies and also easy to mold and handle. Next important thing is goals. They should be anti-glare, because these healthcare force may need to work day and night. Further, it is advisable to attach a microscopic lens at the top center for keen observation of the minute level changes taking place, if any, among the patients. Next one is polymeric shoe covers which must be impervious. Here we can go for recycled polymers so that we can go for single used shoe covers. These are all very important necessary items for healthcare staff, which gives them a lot of confidence in attending for their services. Here, as per the WHO standards, we can look for many biomaterials, nanomaterials, recycled plastics in preparing them with affordable cost and in affordable time. Yes. Next, very important step is the integration of technology in medicine. I mean to say, the technology support for quick identification of patients, for quick diagnosis and treatment, and of course for post-treatment services. This is a very important because quick remedy, safe remedy are very important to control this pandemic situation, and of course which is transmissible. Just to mention, and of course, not a single discipline needed here. All the domains need to work on in this particular aspect. So let me say A few to mention like artificial intelligence, Internet of Things, machine learning, medicinal kit development, mobile app development, tool designing, etc. and etc. And one more thing, let me tell you, these are not to mention, and there is a huge need from all the domains to integrate their technology with this kind of treatment of or medicinal treatment. Here, I will try to put some solutions which may come in good counts. First thing is, and of course, very first thing is the provision of mobile applications for quick registration of the patients on their own to reduce the load or stress at hospital administration and also to provide pre-medical advices. And we can also pacify if any non-trivial viral messages are being taken place. So you can go for artificial intelligence for these kind of works to perform. Next one is very important, the optical identification of patients from long distance if symptoms are present. That means if these particular healthcare staff are being provided with some sort of optical lens designeries so that they can even from long distance they will be able to identify the symptoms of the patients so that the nearby and the close touch may be eliminated. Next one, as we already discussed, personal protection equipment and its maintenance is so important for all these medical force. Here we can arrange chambers with UV radiation emitting or UV radiator emitters, and these particular emitters will be able to provide sanitization. That means for periodic sanitization of their personal protection equipment. Next one is we can develop robots, and these robots can be used for direct testing of inpatients. It is very safe. With the relevant program and instructions, robots can perform needy testing for the patients, and the information being retrieved of that's what we call as the data will be captured. This data, then the doctors or the corresponding personnel can find them in their dashboards of their laptops or computer screens, and they can go for their follow-up action. Subsequently, robots can be made to serve inpatients like arranging medical support because it does require let me think like see passing the injections, providing the medicines, and of course even if you can exchange this kind of works like tissue wiping and removal of tissues and arranging of oxygen, everything can be well done by robots. But of course the proper programming and instructions are required, and also it does require supervision. Next thing is distance health monitoring for post-treatment patients or the patients who are in self-quarantine. This is very important. If we can go via this Internet of Things, we can find the beautiful solution for this because we may try to find the symptoms and the variations among the patients if we can use this particular IoT, and accordingly the prescriptions or other suggestions we can accord to the patients without having their in presence. They need not have to come to these particular doctors because it is transmitting, and as much as possible the close contact with these patients is highly advisable to maintain. That is very important thing. So like that, with the advent of technology and the application of technology, we can go for medical support. These are all some of the solutions and being brought as a part of design thinking. But let me tell you, these are not limited. We can extend to any level. Yes, one thing here I want to specify here is, if you look at this kind of physicians and all, now they are working a lot in this particular present pandemic situation. But thing is, we need to see that if you look at these dentists, ophthalmologists, or ENT specialists, and they will also have to have the close work with all these corresponding patients. So that is why whatever we are expressing like personal protection equipment or this kind of technology services, they can also be extended in the similar lines for these three categories also. Yes, friends, now let us look at our supporting force like the police force, whose involvement is very significant in non-spreading among the public. First one is, let me say, wireless thermal sensor based devices for quick identification of patients, if any, in massive groups, and also to control the group enhancements. And these devices must be placed in overcrowded areas or sensitive places so that they can easily monitor, which reduces stress on them. One more important thing is remote controlled barricades to reduce physical stress. Let us say, for example, and if you go on the roads in several areas and very important parts, we are finding these barricades. The placing the barricades and again the taking off these barricades, it also requires a lot of physical work. So why can't we use a remote controlled barricades? So you can also place the wheels underneath these particular barricades. So one can operate from remote place also as and when and as per the need. They can just use these barricades placed, and of course they can take off these barricades. The next one is sensor inbuilt CC cameras and traffic signals for keen vigilance. These are all very, very important. Let us say, for example, if you can look at this kind of, we can have this sensor based and signal system. Then apart from not only giving this kind of signaling, they can also identify this kind of disadvantages in case they are being faced. And of course, the sensor inbuilt CC cameras, and not only they are capturing these particular pictures, with the help of the sensors, they can give the relevant information. We can also concentrate to develop camera inbuilt safeguards, because police people and they will always maximum time they need to spend along with the public and all. So the better safety is also very much required for them. So obviously they should be provided with the safeguards. And in case they are having any kind of camera inbuilt safeguards, and even from longer distance, they can identify the gatherings, and also they can also identify the virus impacted patients, and so that the relevant pictures they can take, and via these particular pictures they can find out through their mobile apps the very important information for their necessary action. Next one is sky mode CC cameras, which can be placed at holdings, because generally we are using a lot of holdings for advertisement purpose and all. And if you can use this kind of CC cameras at this kind of hoardings, and obviously at very periodic places, you can get a lot of information. And also you can use this kind of CC cameras on flag posts. And there are so many areas, like we can use this flag post for national flag, for a political something. So there are so many flags there also. You can use this sky mode CC camera. That's what I'm using the word, like sky mode CC cameras, which can be placed in these flag posts, so that once any groupings happening, then automatically they can take this kind of pictures and all. They will just send the information to these corresponding authorities, so that a quick and remedial actions may be taken in appropriate time. Next one is distance mode monitoring system linked up with CC cameras via wireless mode. So it's a kind of control mode kind of thing. So these are all we can look over to provide the best technological solutions for this police force, so that they can very easily maintain their particular works, and there will be no controversial issues also. In particular, not only for this kind of COVID-19, and if you look at this lockdown, the curfew 144, and as and when in future also in maintaining of law and order, and all these solutions will be best utilized for them. Yes, now coming for another important category, the sanitation staff. This is very, very important and the most sensitive category. That is what I am calling as the sanitization staff. Why? Because they always manually operate many of their works and are more vulnerable. So technology assistance is very required for them. Let us see some of the appropriate solutions for this kind of people. First, let us look at sanitization at transport divisions like buses, trains, flights, airports, and the places like bus complexes, railway stations, and in particular hospitals. For this purpose, it is highly needed to develop mobile UV ray transmitted machines which can absolutely kill bacteria just with the specific instructional operations. Very, very, very important. In future, it is highly needed. Next, in open areas where vegetables, general needs, or crowded areas are identified, and we can use drones to sanitize where maybe the accumulated areas one need to frequently sanitize, which would be difficult to do manually for a number of times. Next very, very important thing is multi-arm robots. Very essential, very sensitive. Why? There will be countable biomedical waste in hospitals in case emergent treatments are going on, like the cottons, the syringes, used bottles, tissues used by the patients. These are all very most likely transmissible, so that these safe disposable, the collection and the safe disposable of these kind of items is very, very important. So if you can use these robots, these are highly safe, and with the proper instructions we can easily pick up all these things. We can easily dispose where in fact we need to dispose, and we can also go for this kind of incineration. That is why, and this particular vulnerable point of action in hospitals should be highly considered. Next very important one is the safe dissemination of the biomedical mass. We can find so many options. If you use just glance your nearby forests, I want to say we need to go for any kind of biomaterials. If you go and look at keenly the different trees available in the forest, you can get beautiful ideas, so that by means of these materials available in this forest, we can try the generation of masks. That's what I'm calling biomasks or biomaterial masks. And if you can do it, we can go for use and throw type of biomass, because they're also having very, very, very pure economic constraints. To cover the entire face, it is advisable to go for highly transparent, recycled, and plastic based safeguards, which cannot have more weight, and of course they are user friendly. These kind of safeguards we can try to prepare for these sanitization staff. One more important thing here is sensor based showers, which can provide foam based sanitization for the workers. For this purpose, we may have a mobile or even a temporary room. It's a kind of facility in major areas where the staff can quick cleaning and soon after completion of their duties, and they can go to their respective houses. Next one is, as we used fountains in parks and all, we can also have sprinkling sanitization machines which may be placed in crowded areas, entry and exit of hospitals. So if you can have the attached sensor attached to these kind of sanitization machines, so they can frequently go for sanitization as per the requirement. Also, we can carry these what you call this kind of sprinkling sanitizers via vehicles, so to sanitize our living areas like our roads and nearby places, and what you call this kind of a drainage system, everywhere we can use this. So these are all very important technological solutions where the direct involvement or the manual handling or manual operation with the sanitization staff will be greatly reduced. So friends, these are most relevant solutions, but as I was telling, keep on, they're not limited to this, and we can work for as much as possible solution to provide in this particular aspect. So friends, this is what the very important stage in the design thinking, where we try to find the app solutions for the target customers. So keep trying to find the app solutions for the present pandemic. As it was already mentioned, what I have given, these are all the possible solutions. You can try best, you can do, and you are to the maximum extent. So please keep trying. And in the next stage and the last stage, what is called the test, we will see you again soon. So be safe and happy learning. Bye.